Discover the miraculous observer, unveiling your divine self through 3 sacred truths revealed. In the heart of a quaint English village, Eleanor stood trembling before the flickering altar candles, her heart racing. She had always believed in the power of prayer, but tonight, it felt like the very fabric of faith was weaving a shroud around her. The air crackled with divine energy, and the scent of incense swirled like whispers from heaven. As she closed her eyes, tears streamed down her cheeks, for God was stirring in ways she could hardly comprehend. A soft glow enveloped her, illuminating her soul. "Hold on," a voice resonated, "for miracles await." The clock struck midnight, and Eleanor was consumed by an otherworldly sensation. In that sacred moment, she was not alone. A vision unfolded before her, revealing 3 sacred truths that illuminated the darkness threatening to engulf her beloved son, David. She saw the first truth flash like lightning across her mind, the unshakable power of faith. Vibrant rays of light burst forth, sparking with divine intentions that set her heart aglow. The warmth wrapped around her, urging her to share this celestial message. In her waking moments, the village vibrated with hushed prayers, as families gathered in their homes, invoking St. George's spirit. Eleanor felt their devotion intermingling with hers, weaving a tapestry of hope in the chilly English air. A second truth emerged, igniting the fire of perseverance within her spirit. "Keep praying. Do not falter," echoed a gentle whisper, reminding her that the battle of faith was one worth fighting, but doubt lurked in the corners, like a dark fog creeping in. Would prayer truly help David? The doctors had given a grim prognosis, their cold, clinical words cutting through her heart. Yet just as Eleanor feared their skepticism might extinguish the flickering light of belief, she stumbled upon a gathering in the church, a community united by their shared yearning not just for David's healing, but for a divine miracle. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the prayers crescendoed, Eleanor's heart raced with the third truth, the reality of divine intervention. Each whispered appeal was a golden thread, an invitation for the heavens to pour out their blessings. She could feel warm light dancing in the air, an indescribable presence brushing gently against her spirit. The village became a sanctuary of faith, spilling forth chants and hymns that echoed through the dim, ancient stones of the church like a mighty wind. Yet even in this sanctuary, shadows loomed. Would their prayers be enough? As dawn approached, time seemed to warp, hope and fear wrestled within her. The culmination of countless whispered prayers could determine her son's fate. Eleanor saw the faces around her, fresh glares of worry mixed with fervent determination infused their expressions. They were all in this together, yearning for a miracle that could change their lives forever. In one last surge of fervent hope, she held tightly to her vision. Would the truth she witnessed guide them through this dark hour? As the rising sun cast its first light, Eleanor faced the threshold of the unknown, her heart a battleground of belief and despair, waiting for the news that could either break them apart or knit them closer than ever. Eleanor stood at the edge of dawn, absorbing the soft glow of the sun peeking over the hills. It bathed the village in golden light, a stark contrast to the shadows that gripped her heart. Time slowed, stretching like the first rays of sunlight across the dewy grass, as she felt the mix of hope and dread intertwining in her spirit. The church bell chimed, reverberating through the air, a summons to all souls willing to partake in the unfolding divine drama. As villagers began to fill the pews, Eleanor's heart quickened. She could sense their collective yearning, each individual holding a piece of hope, tightly woven together like a delicate tapestry. They gathered to raise their voices, prayers merging in a symphony of devotion. She marveled at the strength of their unity, an invisible force binding them together in this holy fight for her son's life. With every prayer uttered, her soul flared with a growing conviction. The vision she had experienced still flickered in her mind like an ember refusing to die. Faith. Perseverance. Divine intervention. These were not merely ideas, they had ignited a fire she hadn't realized burned so brightly within her. "Together, we will reach the heavens," she whispered, summoning courage to lead the congregation in prayer. "Let us pray for David," she called out, her voice steady and strong, cutting through the anxious murmurs. Kneeling at the altar, she felt the cool stone beneath her fingers, grounding her amidst the reverberating words of hope. The congregation joined her, their hearts echoing her pleas, amplifying her call to God. "Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayers." Their voices rose like incense, curling upwards toward the ceiling, weaving through the rafters, and lingering in the air like a sacred promise. Sweet melodies of faith captured in the sacred space, each note a shimmering thread in the fabric of their collective hope. As they prayed, Eleanor felt an inexplicable warmth envelop her, a divine presence that seemed to wrap around her, reminding her of that earlier glow. It sent shivers down her spine, filling her with a sense of peace that transcended her fears. This was sacred ground, a place where heaven touched earth, where devotion fueled miracles. Then, a sudden hush fell over the congregation. Eleanor raised her gaze, meeting the eyes of her neighbors, their expressions a mix of anticipation and trepidation. The church's heavy door creaked open. And there, silhouetted in the doorway, stood Father Matthew, his countenance radiating serenity. With a heart full of hope, Eleanor searched his eyes. Had God intervened? Would the prayers that had climbed toward heaven bear fruit? As Father Matthew approached the altar, the silence grew thick with expectation. "We have reason to believe," he began, his voice calm, resonating through the stillness, "that miracles are on our doorstep." Eleanor could hardly breathe. This was the moment when all faith and doubt would collide, where the outcome of their devotion could manifest into something miraculous. Bring forth the congregation's strength, she thought, aware that this was a pivotal moment where the hearts of many could shift the heavens. Would their collective belief unleash the power necessary to transform tragedy into triumph? What awaited them behind the unfolding veil of divine mystery? In that sacred space, hope hung palpably in the air, whispering that perhaps the greatest miracle was yet to come. Father Matthew stood before them, an altar surrounded by flickering candles and the scent of holy oils. Each flicker seemed to dance with hope, mirroring the quickening pulse of Eleanor's heart. The air felt charged, as if the walls of the church themselves were listening intently, anticipating the coming revelation. His voice, soothing yet powerful, held them in a tender embrace. "Brothers and sisters," he continued, "we gather here not just as individuals, but as one body, united in faith. The power of our prayer can shake the very foundations of heaven." Eleanor reveled in his words, they were like soothing balm to a wounded spirit. She felt the collective heartbeat of the congregation, each face illuminated in the soft light as they leaned in closer, hungry for truth. "We have all witnessed miracles, be they small or grand," Father Matthew's voice rose, commanding their attention, "and today, we stand not only to pray for David but to recognize the miracle that already dwells within each of us." He paused, letting that sink in, and Eleanor pondered what it meant for the miracle to live within. What if it wasn't just about the healing of her son? What if it was about recognizing the divine spark in every heart, igniting a flame that had the potential to change everything? "Each of you carries a piece of the divine within," he proclaimed. "This miracle can change lives, heal wounds, and turn despair into hope. But to access it, we must acknowledge and release our fears, our doubts, and our limitations." As these words washed over Eleanor, she felt a wave of warmth crashing over her, washing away fragments of anxiety. Could it be true? Is that divine light really within? Just as the sun casts glory over the earth, would that light illuminate their path forward? Father Matthew continued, "Let us remember, our faith may not always look like we expect. The greatest miracles often arrive cloaked in the mundane, hidden in acts of love, and intertwined with the struggles we face." A soft whisper stirred within the congregation, an acknowledgement of shared struggles, perhaps even the silent battles they all fought daily. Eleanor caught sight of Martha, a widow residing in the village, wiping away tears of both sorrow and joy. Their shared journey of hardship united them, bridging their hearts even more deeply. "Let us step forward, my friends," Father Matthew beckoned with his hand extended toward the congregation, not just to pray for David but to embrace the miracle within us and shout it to the heavens. His voice rang with an urgency that staggered the air, infusing the sacred space with an electric anticipation. The congregation began to rise, slowly at first, uncertainty flickering across faces. But then, as if a wave of faith surged through them, they rose together, hearts pounding like drums of war, eyes lit with resolute determination. Eleanor felt her heart lift further with every soul around her standing tall. Memories of past struggles flickered behind her closed eyes, lost loved ones, dreams dashed, hardships endured. Each moment had guided her to this exact point, a fiery clarity igniting her spirit. "Now let us proclaim." Father Matthew's voice soared, filling the church with a strength that resonated deep within their chests. "Let us be bold. Let us be courageous. For the Lord is with us." As they began to shout praises, Eleanor's voice joined the chorus, rising above the din. "Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the miracle." The words spilled from her lips like water from a renewed well, vibrant and alive. Tears fell freely now, but they were different, each drop a release of pain, replaced by something far more profound, joy. There was a palpable shift in the atmosphere, a divine warmth bathing them all. And in that cherished moment, Eleanor understood the divine mystery wasn't just a distant hope, it was present, here and now, in their unity and shared faith. Yet, as the celebration reached its crescendo, a deep longing stirred within her. Something still felt incomplete. What more did God wish to reveal? What next step lay ahead on this miraculous journey? As the echoes of praise continued to resonate, Eleanor knew that the most profound part of the journey was just beginning. The voice of Father Matthew resonated through the church like the ringing of a bell, its sound rich and full. "Today, my beloveds, we will not only give thanks but also listen to what the Spirit desires to communicate." Eleanor's heart raced at the promise of revelation. What would unfold in this sacred space? She glanced around, witnessing others' faces awash with emotion, eyes glistening as if a veil had been lifted, allowing the light of understanding to seep through. The choir of voices began to harmonize, lifting an anthem of devotion. Eleanor felt herself sway gently with the rhythm, her spirit almost dancing under the swell of hope that enveloped them all. "Miracles happen when we align with the divine," Father Matthew continued. "And today, I will share 3 sacred truths that will illuminate our path. Are we ready to receive?" A chorus of fervent amens echoed throughout. Eleanor felt the answer deepen within her, a resounding yes that pulsed at the very core of her being. "First," he said, raising a finger as if to catch their undivided attention, "you are worthy of divine love. Imagine that, each of you deserving of such grace. No sin too vast, no heart too hardened, no sorrow so great that it cannot be redeemed. The love of God does not measure, it simply pours out over you, washing you clean and filling you up." Eleanor's breath caught in her throat as she internalized that truth. Worthy, those words struck true and deep. They radiated warmth, embracing all the fractures she had endured. Instinctively, she glanced at David's empty seat, lips brushing together in whispered prayer. How often had she doubted, feeling unworthy of healing for herself or her son? Second, Father Matthew continued, eyes shining like twin stars, "Your voice matters. Every prayer spoken, no matter how broken or simple, holds weight in the heavenly realm. When you speak from a place of faith, the heavens pause to listen. You move mountains." Eleanor felt a stirring, a recognition of her own voice that had been held back by doubt and fear. Today, she resolved to release that sound, to be unafraid in her expression of faith. She thought of her small whispers to God in the dark nights when fear threatened to drown out hope. Her voice did matter. And finally, he declared, pumping his fist as if wielding the sword of truth, "Belonging is your birthright. You are part of a family that stretches across time and space, united through trials and faith, steeped in divine purpose. Whatever you face it together. In our shared worship, we lift each other up, banishing the shadows. A wave of warmth washed over her at this revelation. Here she was, connected to Martha, to David, to every soul present. The burdens didn't fall on her alone, they were carried together in the embrace of community and faith. A smile broke free, illuminating her face as she turned to Martha, briefly locking eyes. It was a silent agreement and acknowledgement of their shared journey. "Let us affirm these truths now," Father Matthew called out, his voice ringing clear. "Repeat after me, I am worthy of divine love. I am worthy of divine love." The congregation responded, the sound sweeping through the room like fire, igniting every spirit. Father Matthew continued, leading them through each truth until the very air pulsed with joy and the Spirit's presence. As the last echoes of affirmation began to fade, Eleanor felt a new fire within her. She could feel the miracle at hand, pulsing and vibrant. But the lingering question hung in the air: how would they take these sacred truths beyond the church walls? How would they allow this newfound awareness to change their lives? Eleanor's heart quickened as she contemplated the steps that lay ahead. What adventure awaited them next? Would they be ready to embrace the fuller scope of their divine journey and share the miracles waiting to unfold? Eleanor barely noticed as the service began to wind down, her heart still ablaze with Father Matthew's words. The congregation started to rise, yet she remained seated, lost in a sea of thoughts. Each sacred truth pressed deeper into her soul, igniting a path forward, a promise that begged to be fulfilled. She felt a soft hand on her shoulder, pulling her from her reverie. It was Martha, her eyes sparkling. "You okay?" she asked, concern lacing her voice. "I don't know, Martha. I feel transformed somehow. All these years I've held myself back, and now I want to break free," Eleanor exclaimed, her voice trembling with both uncertainty and hope. Martha nodded, her expression warm. "It's the Spirit within you, dear. Embrace it. We were meant to share these gifts, not just within these walls but everywhere we go." The church, once a sanctuary of solace, now felt like a launching pad. Eleanor looked around, catching others exchanging stories, laughter, and their own affirmations. It was a tapestry woven with connection, and she longed to be a vibrant thread within it. "Let us not wait until next Sunday to put these truths into action," Martha proposed, her enthusiasm bubbling over. "Let us gather the others for a small meeting at my house. We can brainstorm ways to carry this light forward." Feeling the pull of urgency, Eleanor agreed, her heart racing not just with excitement but with purpose. They moved outside, the sun spilling light across the cobblestone path. Breathing in the fresh air, Eleanor closed her eyes, envisioning a future where they would courageously walk together, bearing witness to their faith. As they strolled towards Martha's home, whispers of excitement scattered through the group. Others shared ideas about community outreach, plans for prayer circles, and even a monthly dinner to deepen their connections. Eleanor's spirit soared as each voice added more fuel to the fire kindling within her. Once they gathered in Martha's cozy living room, a warm ambience enveloped them, the fragrance of freshly brewed tea and cookies inviting comfort. The table was arranged with an array of notepads, pens, and an open heart ready to catch every idea. "Let us write down all our thoughts," Eleanor suggested, feeling emboldened. As they began, the room filled with laughter, overlapping stories, and tentative dreams. Eleanor shared her vision of creating a space for the community's children, a safe haven where they could learn about faith while knowing they were loved and cherished. The idea resonated. One by one, others added their own thoughts, igniting sparks of creativity. But just as the atmosphere bubbled over with possibilities, a powerful shift occurred. The light from the window dimmed momentarily, and an inexplicable hush fell over the room. It was in this silence that they all felt it, a gentle whisper in their hearts urging them toward a greater calling. "What if this is just the beginning?" someone murmured, breaking the silence. Eleanor's pulse quickened again, this time energized by a divine sense of urgency. "Yes!" she cried. "We need to let our voices rise up together, be the light in every shadowed corner of our community." The room erupted in agreement. Ideas flowed, ignited by the thrill of purpose. Yet beneath it all, a deep sense of mystery lingered. What awaited them outside the safety of their spiritual sanctuary? What miracles unfolded when they truly stepped into their roles as conduits of love and grace? As the evening continued, Eleanor couldn't shake the feeling that something truly significant was on the horizon. She could almost hear the echoes of those sacred truths whispering, inviting her, daring her. Would the steps they were taking lead them to the very heart of God's plan? The thought sent shivers down her spine. The night was still young, and the adventure had just begun. The excitement in Martha's living room buzzed like a warm summer breeze, wrapping each participant in an embrace of shared purpose. With each suggestion, Eleanor felt the weight of her own inhibitions slowly lifting. She watched as eyes brightened with enthusiasm, and she realized they were not just discussing ideas, they were stitching together a fabric of belief, one that could cover many. Eleanor's heart danced as she recalled her vision. "What if we brought together the kids every Friday?" she suggested, voice filled with hope. "We could teach them songs of joy, share stories of faith, and create a space where they feel safe. It could be a garden for their spirits to grow." "Yes!" came a chorus of agreement. Faces lit up with possibilities, as if each idea sparked a flicker of divine light. One member chimed in, "We can also involve their families. Potlucks, game nights, even family prayer time. It's not just about them, it's about strengthening our whole community." The discussion rolled on, ideas intertwining into a rich tapestry of what could be. But deep inside, Eleanor felt a tremor, a whisper nudging her. Was this enough? What if they aimed even higher? In the pause that followed, Martha, sensing the weight of uncertainty, leaned forward. "What if we shared our work with the element of vulnerability? We could invite the community to share their stories, the struggles, the victories. Hearing each other brings us closer, you know." Eleanor's heart raced at this new thought. She could picture it, a gathering where souls laid bare their journeys. Can hearts shine brighter through the cracks? "I love that!" Eleanor exclaimed, her spirit swelling. "It would be like a living prayer. We could create a place where everyone is seen, where struggles find context through faith." Martha smiled, a knowing glint in her eyes. "And if we listen, we might hear something unexpected, a call to action that's bigger than us." The room absorbed her words, the air thickening with anticipation. A stillness enveloped them once more, the same hush that had passed earlier. In this quiet, each heart attuned to the divine frequency pulsing around them. Suddenly, Eleanor felt as if time paused. The gentle flutter of the blinds, the soft crackle of the fireplace, it all became a symphony of life. She closed her eyes, letting the atmosphere envelop her like a gentle embrace. What might unfold if they responded fully to this calling? It was then that a soft knock echoed through the room. It startled everyone, eyes turning toward the door. Martha rose, glancing at those assembled, confusion mingling with curiosity. "Who could that be?" she murmured, moving to answer, but before she reached the knob, Eleanor sensed it, an urgency, a divine presence at the threshold. As Martha opened the door, a glow flooded the room. And there, silhouetted against the evening light, stood a figure, shrouded in grace. Eleanor's heart raced as she felt an inexplicable connection to whoever stood there. This was not mere coincidence. "What is happening?" someone whispered, a tone of reverence threading through their voices. Could this stranger be the first step toward the unfurling of their mission? Was this moment the universe's way of affirming their purpose to shine brightly in the world? With breath held and hearts pounding, they awaited what divine secret would unfold next. The night was not over, it seemed to be just the beginning of something profound. What awaited them with this unexpected visitor? What mysteries would soon find their way to light? The figure at the door stepped forward, and an aura of serenity enveloped the room like a protective blanket. With gentle eyes that sparkled with wisdom, the newcomer seemed to carry a peace that was palpable. Eleanor could hardly breathe, caught in a wave of mixed emotions: hope, curiosity, and a hint of anticipation. "Good evening," the stranger said, voice smooth and melodic, like a soft hymn that resonated within their hearts. "I felt drawn to this gathering. There's an energy here, a promise of transformation." Martha nodded slowly, her heart fluttering as she felt the truth in those words. "You can feel it too?" she asked, her voice almost a whisper. "Indeed," the figure replied, stepping deeper into the room. "Every moment has a purpose. I've come to share a vision for the path ahead." Eleanor's pulse quickened. Something within her stirred. She wondered, was this encounter meant to guide them into the depths of their calling? As the stranger settled into an empty chair, the room fell into a sacred silence, hearts swelling with expectation. A sense of weightlessness filled the air, lifting their spirits beyond the ordinary. The stranger's presence felt like a divine embrace, inviting them to listen intently. "Each of you has a light within," the figure began, eyes glancing purposefully at each individual. "But sometimes, you hide that light. You think it isn't bright enough, or that your stories don't matter. Yet, it's in your vulnerabilities where true strength lies." Eleanor felt tears prick at her eyes. Yes. This was the truth she longed for. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of connection. When you share your stories, you invite others to see their own reflections. People want to know they are not alone in their struggles. The words washed over them like fresh rain on thirsty soil. A murmur of agreement rippled through the gathering. "What must we do?" someone finally asked, voice breaking the spell of silence. The figure smiled softly. "Create a space, a community space where souls can freely express, connect, and heal. What you sow will grow. Encourage the stories, the laughter, the tears. Even the deepest grief can be transformed into hope." Eleanor felt a fire ignite within her. "We want to create a safe haven for that," she said, her voice clearer now, filled with resolve. "A place where even the smallest light is celebrated." "Yes," Martha echoed, her spirit emboldened. "This is our calling. We'll gather everyone. We'll make them feel seen." The stranger nodded, their gaze deepening with understanding. "And remember, every action rooted in love sends ripples into the universe. Don't underestimate the impact of your collective voice. You're on the brink of a divine movement, a spark that could light up this community and beyond." Eleanor's heart soared. Their mission was more than ideas or discussions, it was becoming a fervent response to the call they felt pulsing through their gathered hearts. "Stay with us," she urged, feeling the urgency in the air. "Help us shape this vision. We can't do it alone." "There is much to explore together," the stranger said, standing up. "But my time here must be fleeting. I will guide you, but the journey is yours to take. Trust in the light you each hold, let it guide you." With that, they turned toward the door, but there was a pause that held the collective breath of the room. "Wait!" Eleanor shouted suddenly, feeling the weight of her excitement and the weight of her purpose. "What if we need your wisdom? What do we do first?" The figure paused, a warm smile forming, but their eyes held a glint of mystery. "You've already begun. The first act is to gather your voices and to share your hearts. What God has not yet revealed, will unfold in the courage of your unity." With those final words, the figure stepped into the evening glow, leaving behind a radiant promise. A flicker of hope ignited among them, stronger now than before. Would they discover their true power through shared stories? What miracles awaited them as they dove deeper into community and faith together? Eleanor stood at the threshold, the weight of the stranger's words echoing in her mind. A cacophony of thoughts swirled around her heart as she shared glances with Martha and the others. The call to gather their voices resonated deep within, like the steady pulse of a drum that urged them forward. What do we do next? Martha asked, eyes shining with determination. We need a plan, a way to connect with others. Eleanor nodded, her spirit ignited by the vision they had glimpsed moments before. Let us start by sharing what we've all been through, the struggles, the joys, the faith that led us here. We'll weave a tapestry of our lives. The concept of connection through openness ignited a spark in the small group. One by one, each member began to share snippets of their journeys, moments of doubt, despair, joy, and resilience. A timid young man named David spoke first. I didn't always believe I had a purpose, he confessed, glancing at the floor. But through my struggles, I found that every tear carries meaning. I finally realized I am meant to share my story, even the dark parts. Their hearts grew heavy with compassion, yet light with the knowledge that vulnerability was a shared human experience. Each story peeled back layers, revealing fragments of souls yearning for connection. Can you feel it? Martha said, voice trembling. The energy in the room, it's alive. Each story adds to our collective strength. Yes. Eleanor agreed, her words infused with fervor. Every voice can break down barriers. Let us write down our stories, gather them all, and share them in a bigger space. We could host a gathering. The idea hung in the air like a delicate spark ready to ignite. David's eyes brightened at the thought as others gathered close, their spirits lifted. How about we design a space like a circle? Suggested Sarah, a quiet but passionate member of their group. A circle where everyone feels safe to share openly, knowing they're cherished. In circles, there is no one above or below, we all stand equally before each other. A chorus of agreement rang out, and Eleanor's heart soared higher. Yes. We'll create a space rooted in love. This will grow into something beautiful, I just know it. As plans began to take form, a soft glow illuminated their gathering, almost as if the walls of the room wrapped around them tenderly, affirming their purpose. With every shared piece, they were not just talking about creating a community but manifesting one. Let us set a date, Martha urged, clutching a pen and paper with newfound determination. Imagine the light we'll create together as stories intertwine. Days turned to weeks as they met regularly, refining their mission, encouraging one another. Stories flowed freely, laughter intertwined with tears, weaving a community tapestry that resonated with authenticity. Word spread quietly through the community, pulling in those who sought solace, sharing burdens, connecting beyond their differences. But just as enthusiasm blossomed, they encountered their first hurdle. An invitation to the wider community was met with resistance. What if they don't want to listen? David expressed one evening, uncertainty clouding his spirit. Eleanor felt the tension rise but stood steady. We have to ask ourselves, she said, looking each of them in the eye, what if our voices hold the key to unlocking another person's healing? What if we are the light? Silence enveloped them, a stillness filled with questions and a gentle grace. At that moment, they realized the journey was not just about a community gathering, it was also an internal exploration of faith itself. The divine was unfolding like petals of a blossom, revealing layers they hadn't anticipated. And so, they forged ahead, uncertain yet emboldened, bound by purpose and promise. What awaited them in the broader community? Would their light shine brightly enough to draw others into their embrace? Eleanor stood in the warm light of the gathering space, the excitement palpable, and yet uncertainty tinged the air. Even her own heart raced with both anticipation and anxiety. They had offered their stories to one another, but the wider community? That was a different challenge entirely. Do you hear that? Martha suddenly said, her eyes wide as if she had seen a vision. It's the sound of opportunity. We're not just sharing among ourselves. We're stepping into something bigger. Yes, but David hesitated, his voice soft yet filled with concern. What if they don't understand us? What if we're not enough? David. Eleanor interjected gently, moving closer to him. More than enough, we are each a beacon of divine light. Those who are lost will be drawn to it, just like moths to a flame. As the group contemplated her words, a sense of purpose began to swell like the tide. They were meant to share not just stories but fragments of the divine. Their hearts were no longer merely vessels of fear, they were now vessels of hope. Eleanor took a deep breath, eyes glistening with a holy fire. Let us remind ourselves of the impact our gathering could have. We are a community on the verge of a holy movement. What if our shared vulnerability becomes the thread of love that embraces countless lives? Murals of light painted their imaginations with images of welcoming faces, of open hearts ready to receive the warmth they offered. Their dreams reached far beyond their own struggles. With excited murmurs, discussions turned into plans, and plans transformed into actions. The night before the gathering, a thick silence settled in the air, one rich with possibility. Each member took time alone to reflect and prepare their hearts, to offer themselves fully into the hands of something greater than themselves. Let us pray together, Eleanor suggested, gathering them into a circle. The space felt sacred, a cocoon of energy swirling around them, holding them in divine anticipation. As they joined hands, the warmth of their connection ignited a quiet understanding they were about to witness something powerful. Dear Father, Eleanor began, her voice respectful yet vulnerable. Guide us as we shine your light. Fill us with courage and wisdom, so that our words may carry your truth, that they may whisper hope into the hearts of those who need it most. One by one, they spoke, sharing intimate prayers, their voices blending together in harmony. Each person's spirit lifted, nourished by a commitment to the mission ahead, an unshakable belief that God was at work among them. The day of the gathering dawned bright and clear. The sun graced the sky, its rays bathing the world in warmth, an emblem of new beginnings. Attendees began to arrive slowly, hesitant yet curious. The group welcomed each soul with open arms, offering smiles that radiated acceptance. Eleanor saw the nervousness in the eyes of newcomers. She felt it echo in her own heart. But with every story shared, the once electric tension began to melt into laughter and connection. People who had once felt isolated stood together, discovering common threads in their experiences. Suddenly, amid the intertwining stories, a loud crash startled them. A chair had toppled over, and startled eyes darted nervously. David, his heart racing, stood to help the newcomer who had stumbled. As he assisted, he looked deeply into her eyes, and they shared a moment, a silent understanding of struggles met with grace. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. She smiled, reassuring him. "Yes, just a little overwhelmed. But your kindness reaches me, I can feel it." In that instant, it struck Eleanor that the light they had hoped to share was indeed shining, even through small acts of grace. They were not just weaving a tapestry of stories, they were crafting a pathway to healing, forgiveness, and unity. As the gathering continued, hearts opened, and laughter bubbled up like spring water. Eleanor marveled at the power of their commitment, yet a quiet whisper of doubt tugged at her spirit. What if this was just a fleeting moment? But then, amidst the joy, she realized that what God had not yet revealed would surpass all expectations. What other ways would God weave His miracles into their gathering? Would tomorrow's stories deepen their understanding of love and unity even more? As the gathering surged with stories and laughter, Eleanor felt an undeniable change washing over her and everyone present. Each shared experience cracked the barriers built by loneliness, fear, and disbelief. The atmosphere saturated with warmth, hearts were opening like flowers under the sun. She believed something sacred was being born that night. Eleanor stood near the center, her heart swelling as she witnessed her community embracing vulnerability with courage. She glanced at David, his eyes bright with enthusiasm as he shared his journey, and felt a rush of gratitude. The energy pulsating through the room felt electric, an undeniable sign of God moving among them. Suddenly, Martha stepped forward, her eyes shining with resolve. "Let us not allow this moment to fizzle out. We've tasted the sweetness of connection, now, let us commit to making it a frequent thing. How about monthly gatherings? A space for sharing, healing, and growing together?" A chorus of amens erupted in excitement, voices intertwining like the beautiful tapestry they had created together. Eleanor felt an unyielding wave of empowerment ripple through the room. Yes. This was a call to action, this was the sacred movement they had prayed for. With everyone so engaged, a quiet figure emerged from the back, a woman with a weary smile etched on her face, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. With a trembling voice, she spoke, "Could I share my story? I've carried it for too long." Instantly, the room hushed, all ears turned toward her. Eleanor's heart raced as she sensed the weight of the moment. The healing that would come from this raw, unfiltered sharing could ripple outward, transforming both the speaker and the listeners. The woman began recounting her emotional journey, filled with heartache and struggles that had brought her to the brink. She spoke of a loss that had engulfed her in despair, but how through the kindness of a neighbor, she found the strength to slowly rise again. With every word, there were nods of understanding, tears sliding down cheeks, all transformed, connecting through shared pain. In that sacred space, the woman found cathartic release, and the audience felt the energy shift. They weren't just listening, they were embodying empathy, lifting one another, a true reflection of divine love flowing through them. When she finished, silence lingered a moment, and Eleanor felt as if everyone held their breath, savoring the gravity of the shared experience. Then, as if orchestrated, a round of applause erupted, gentle, but full of meaning. Affirming their journey, honoring vulnerability, each clap a reminder that they were truly united. A miracle, Eleanor thought, in the midst of so much heartache. It became clear that every story was a thread woven in the fabric of their existence, creating a striking pattern of healing and resolution. Only then did she realize this was part of God's plan. In that moment, Father Matthew's words echoed in her mind, "Every action rooted in love sends ripples into the universe." Eleanor understood now that the love they shared tonight would not only ignite their hearts but would send out waves of hope into the community beyond. There would be others, waiting to feel this light in their lives. As people mingled, sharing snippets and encircling the woman, Eleanor felt a gentle nudge in her spirit. What if we amplify this? What if we turn these stories into a project, something that reaches outside our village? The thought barely left her lips when a resounding chorus responded, eyes lit up with fervor. "Let us create a platform." Someone shouted. "A blog. A video series. An open mic night." Ideas swirled, fueled by passion and urgency. They knew that sharing these powerful stories could touch lives far beyond their gathering. Eleanor's heart raced with excitement, the divine spark igniting her spirit. This is not just about us anymore, it's about spreading the truth of hope and healing. As they discussed practical steps, Eleanor sat back for a moment, overwhelmed with gratitude. She reflected on her earlier journey of fear, doubt, and isolation. Now, God had transformed her crying out for a miracle into being a vessel for miracles within this community. What once felt heavy was now light, what once felt fractured was aligned. She could feel the warmth of divine presence radiating among them. As the evening drew near its close, Eleanor felt the peace wash over her surroundings. They had ignited something beautiful, a heart-centered movement to touch souls lost in darkness. It was the beginning of a new chapter, revealing the inherent worthiness of every person gathered there. That night, as they prayed together one last time, Eleanor felt the powerful energy intertwine, their voices lifting upward like sweet incense. "Lord, we thank you for each journey shared. Let us be more than mere vessels, let us be sparks that ignite a fire of hope in every soul we touch." As they stepped outside, the night sky enthralled them with countless stars glistening above. Eleanor knew the quest was only just beginning. Together, they would shine brighter than they ever thought possible. With each story shared, they'd continue weaving threads of faith and light, igniting miracles in their wake. She felt a gentle push to act, realizing their next meeting wasn't just about planning but a movement bearing witness to the divine call they accepted. Everybody had a part, and together, they would illuminate their village with every shared heart. And so, as they began this sacred mission, Eleanor breathed deeply, her heart radiant with gratitude. She understood this was where miracles flourished, within community, faith, and the unveiled power of love. As if answering that call, the echoes of Father Matthew's wisdom filled the air, inviting them, "Your light is needed, let it shine." And they would, oh, how they would shine. Now, as you step back into your own life, remember this divine story of transformation. You need to subscribe now to our channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that uplift and inspire. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and bring in more seekers who crave this light. Comment below with your reactions and testimonies about the transformative journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness and embrace this manifestation of hope. True servants of God understand the power of unity. Let us spread this miracle.